So as March ends and April begins, we do of course get April Fool's Day. This year, though, this is a really important day because we have special elections in Florida, 2 House seats in Republican districts, the districts that Waltz and Matt Gaetz previously occupied. And then in Wisconsin, there is a Supreme Court race, which is very important because it'll tilt the balance either to the Democratic side or to the Republican side, and apparently it has implications for the House of Representatives as well. So it's a really important election. Of these, to my mind, even though I think in all 3 cases you're going to see an overperformance by Democrats, my sense is that at best in the Florida races it'll be closer than the expected margin based on previous wins by Waltz, by Gaetz, by how much Trump was able to win in those districts in 2024, but I doubt that it's going to be enough to close the gap so that we could get an upset and then elect a Democrat. In Wisconsin, however, I think the odds are better toward electing the Democratic judge, despite all the money that Musk is pouring into the race. One factor playing against him is that his recent loss in popularity was something that the Democratic candidate, Susan Crawford, is used in her messaging against him. So the point to all this is that even though there is some hope on the Democratic side that something may happen to stop or derail the Trump train, beyond the risks that are ever present to his health, and they're certainly there, but to the extent that we might see some kind of cataclysmic event, the astrology would signal some possibility of that from the perspective of the Uranus cycle, which last year, in the late June and into the mid-July period, brought about, unexpected patterns, such as the attempt on him that happened, and then the fact that that was around the time when Biden left the race and then Kamala came in. This is the kind of thing, Uranus cycles, which in this case are Uranus in a square to the American moon. It can happen, and this is a bit later, May, June, in that region. But at the same time, we have to steel ourselves for the possibility that the main area to focus on is through elections. And so we look for patterns that improve the election chances of Democrats, and every win is helpful in this regard as we move toward other important elections, such as, for example, later in the year, the Virginia governor's race, and then, of course, next year for the midterm elections. And I think this is critical, just as it is also critical to remain engaged. And so for that, we have coming up major demonstrations, protests, marches. Many people are going to be joining these protests. I will be there as well. I'm on the West Coast, but we're planning to be there. And that kind of thing is, of course, very important, or any other action that can be taken toward resisting the kind of governance we're currently dealing with. Now, this is also a way to address comments that are sometimes made about, the path of taking care of oneself on the level of meditation, mind practices, which I've been recommending to people, meaning try to connect with your most peaceful, happy self, the calm self. But this is not a recommendation to escape your reality. If anything, when you're doing these practices well, you are more engaged in your reality. These things happen in the immediate present. They help you to settle down, but they also focalize you and dramatically often, or at least some, improve your sense of wisdom. In other words, you have a better chance of taking correct action. Some people will become really, really active on the political scene, and some won't. But the odds improve that you will take good action. And of course, in addition to feeling better about your situation. So, let's see what happens, because I'm going to be shortly making a video on the April patterns in astrology, but tomorrow's results are going to tell me a lot, so I look forward to that. And we'll also look at the patterns in the Wisconsin election. I'm especially interested in that, meaning I want to know how much of the vote tomorrow happens through voting machines and how much through other means. And I'll see if I can do the kind of research that will give me answers about that.